Does the amount of money you have influence your spiritual journey? I believe it does, but not in the way we usually think. If you spend your entire day just trying to make ends meet, spirituality rarely becomes a priority. When survival takes all your attention, there's little space left for deeper questions. Day after day, the focus is simple. Provide the bare minimum for yourself and your family. In such a state, the mind becomes extremely narrow. It concentrates on one single goal, survival, and everything else fades into the background. Nothing else receives attention. In this state, spirituality hardly gets any space at all. But does the opposite situation bring us closer to it? Not necessarily. When you have enough money to afford almost anything, a different problem appears. It becomes very easy to escape from what you are feeling. If you feel down, you buy something new. If you feel anxious, you go on vacation. If something uncomfortable appears inside you, there's always another distraction waiting outside. Of course, these things only bring temporary relief, but if your circumstances allow it, you can keep repeating the cycle again and again. You can always choose a new movie that feels more comfortable than the one currently playing within you. In this way, the outside world becomes the constant escape route from the inner process that is trying to unfold. This is not really solving anything. It is simply circumventing the system. And most importantly, it is a denial of your own inner process. As long as money plays this role, spirituality will not receive much attention here either. Of course, there are always exceptions, but generally speaking, this is what we often see. So when does spirituality begin to take root most effectively? It is interesting that many people in Western countries are now awakening to teachings that originally came from places where those teachings were born centuries ago. In many of those countries, poverty still dominates daily life. When survival demands most of your attention, spirituality often expresses itself mainly through rituals or traditions. People live their lives, and from time to time they connect to something spiritual through ceremonies or stories. And there's nothing wrong with that, but often these teachings do not fully enter everyday life. They remain something separate from daily living, even though the essence of spiritual path is exactly the opposite, to live these insights in the middle of life itself. And this is understandable. When earning a living requires most of your energy, there's little space left for inner exploration. But the other extreme can be just as distracting. When I worked in the corporate environment, I saw how the relentless pursuit of money can slowly consume a person's entire attention. The mind always provides convincing arguments for it. What if I lose my job? What if I cannot pay my mortgage? What if the economy collapses? These thoughts appear reasonable on the surface, but very often they simply maintain a form of inner bondage created by the mind itself. So when can a spiritual journey truly unfold? Perhaps it begins when you realize that nothing in the outside world can bring lasting happiness, and this realization turns your attention inward. But turning inward does not mean rejecting the world, running away from it. That too would only be another form of resistance. Instead, the spiritual path unfolds when you participate fully in life, while slowly discovering something deeper within it. Life itself becomes the teacher. The experiences you encounter, the challenges you face, and the moments of joy and difficulty all contribute to gradual realization. Eventually, you may begin to notice that life unfolds on its own. In this sense, the golden mean may offer the most supportive conditions. When your material situation provides a basic sense of security, but does not dominate your attention, it creates a space where life can be experienced more clearly. You're not overwhelmed by survival, and you're not intoxicated by abundance. Instead, money simply becomes part of the background, a framework that allows you to experience both the beauty and the difficulties of life. And through these experiences, you may come closer and closer to the truth. Perhaps what we are looking for is a state where money no longer determines the nature of our inner life, where it neither traps us in survival nor seduces us into endless distraction, where it simply supports the unfolding of life without dominating it. At some point, the spiritual journey may ask you to let go of many things. And when you're brave enough to trust life itself, something interesting often happens. Life continues to support you. It takes care of what is necessary. You discover that you always have enough to live the life that is unfolding in front of you. Not the life the mind had planned, but the life that is actually happening. If you can accept this and stop trying to control everything at all costs, your spiritual journey may unfold much more naturally. You begin to live moment by moment, patiently observing what the next moment brings. And whatever appears, you work with it. In this way, even a relationship with money can become a teacher on the spiritual path. Whether you have abundance or very little, it does not need to define your inner life. As long as the mind does not cling to it and build endless stories around it, money can simply play its role in the unfolding of life. Whether you have a lot of money or very little, it doesn't have to define your inner life. If the mind does not cling to it, money simply becomes another circumstance of life. And like every circumstance, it too can become a teacher. The real question is not how much money you have, but whether you're still able to see clearly.